Hey everybody, welcome to the first Kiwi Gamer podcast. I'm your host, Vohis Clements, and tonight I'm going to address a pressing issue of a disturbed individual who refuses to leave me and my family alone. I will also be answering some of the questions you have been sending me. But before I get into all that, I want to briefly recap what's been happening over the last few months. Back in 2019, an external hard drive I'd been using suddenly became corrupted. So I started looking online for a replacement, but the ones I found were too expensive for me at the time. That's when I stumbled across a questionable Craigslist ad. It claimed to be giving away a 1TB hard drive for free. But the location is what made me hesitate. The seller wanted me to meet him behind a cabin in the middle of a forest. Not a single road led to the cabin, nor was it on any map. I almost thought it was a prank. But against my better judgment, I went there anyway. It took me all day to find it, but there it was. But it looked abandoned. The wood was weathered, the windows were cracked, and all around me was a smell that words cannot describe. And every 20 to 30 seconds, a faulty siren would go off in the distance. It almost seemed to be circling me. Everything about this place was giving me red flags. I knew I shouldn't be here, but for some reason I stayed. And after what felt like a lifetime, I saw someone standing next to a tree not too far from where I was standing. I don't remember hearing them approach, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I couldn't make out his face, but he was wearing a black robe with a hood pulled over his head. And as I studied him, he walked forward. He reached behind him and pulled out the hard drive. But he must have drugged me somehow, because the next thing I remember is waking up in bed the next morning. And when I looked up, I saw the new hard drive sitting on my desk. My brother came in soon after and asked where I had been. I said I didn't know, and that I just woke up here. He gave me a concerning look and said that I had been gone for 3 days. At first, I thought he was joking, but when I saw tears forming in his eyes, I knew he was serious. The next few days were normal, but I still felt uneasy after what had happened. I'd tried looking for that ad again, but I couldn't find it. I'd tried googling the address, but quickly regretted it. According to various news articles, the last owners of the cabin died over 10 years ago. It has been vacant ever since. Some sources say that it even burned down, but none of them mention a man still living there. The more I read, the more terrified I became. I eventually had to stop reading altogether. A whole week passed, and life had pretty much gone back to normal. I almost forgot about the ordeal, but that peace quickly disappeared. On the 19th of July, 2019, someone started stalking me on Facebook. Nothing they said made sense, but it still unsettled me. 2 months later, on September 17th, 2019, they sent me a picture of my house. My freaking house. And 2 days later, they strongly implied that they were living in the crawl space under my house. In the weeks following that post, I started hearing strange noises under my house. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but when I remembered that post, I decided to order about a dozen security cameras, 2 for each room. That's when everything went to hell. The day after I set up the security cameras, they were gone. There wasn't even a trace of them ever being there. I thought that I just forgot to set them up, but then I saw it. There was a red handprint outside my window. Below it was written 3 words. I am here. I immediately ran to my brother's room in terror, but he wasn't there. I tried asking around about him, but nobody wanted to talk to me. And the ones that did talk to me couldn't even remember who he was. To this day, he is still missing. For over a year, I never heard from the stalker again, but I never forgot what happened. Then in late 2020, my music channel was suddenly hacked. And in the weeks that followed, they started posting cryptic videos. I thought that the stalker fiasco was finally over, but now it is unclear as to exactly what they are planning to do. And in their latest video, they said something about taking a closer look at the victims in their game, like he's some sort of judge over humanity. But what makes it even more disturbing is the fact that he also mentions me. So I discussed this issue in a recent live stream, and that's where things really get messed up. When I watched the stream later on, I noticed that a masked man literally appeared out of thin air about 2/3 into the stream. He was even recording me. So as soon as I saw that, I quickly packed my bags and headed over to my cousin's house. In fact, I'm actually recording this on their balcony right now. I would have made this podcast sooner, but I needed a few days to get myself together. I'm still bothered by what happened, but I'm better than I was a week ago. I forgot to pack my laptop, so I have to put my gaming content on hold for a little while. But I'll still try to keep you guys updated every so often. I might even start making other gaming related videos with my cousins. If they let me use their computer to edit them, that is. But more on that later. For now, I'm gonna take a look at some of the questions you guys have been sending me on Twitter. The first one is from HappyFoot92, and he says, "Is this an ARG?" Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but no. If this was actually fake, it wouldn't have escalated as quickly as it did. Our next question is from Evan the Man, who asked, why was the last 55 seconds of the live stream just a black screen? In all honesty, I have no idea why it took so long for the stream to end. Maybe it was just lag or something. Next up, Liam35 wants to know if I'm still going to do any real-life recreations of games. Well, it's funny you should ask that, because I was actually thinking of recording a few with my cousins over the next few weeks. I'll need to order a few props first, but not that many. And Pedro101 wanted to know if I'm quitting YouTube. In short, no. I'll be doing YouTube less, but I'm not quitting altogether. As for Mighty Man 2000, he asked me if I'll ever make a second channel. Well, like I said earlier, I have actually been thinking about making a new channel, but I'm still debating on the topic though. Finally, Enderbro wants to know why there is a black bar on my profile picture. In all honesty, I'm not too sure. I didn't even know about it until he pointed it out. So I'll have to look into it after I finish recording. which is right about now, because that was our last question for today. If there's anything you'd like to know, feel free to DM me on Twitter. And if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Now with that being said, my name's Boys Clements, and you've been listening to the Kiwi Gamer Podcast. I'll catch you in the next one.